Hey, welcome to Home Video Hangouts. I'm Cody, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 favorite comedy movies of all time. And now be aware, this isn't me saying these are the greatest comedy movies ever created, because both comedy and movies in general are very subjective, but these are all movies that I really love. They always make me laugh, and I could always watch them again no matter how many times I've already seen them. And they're all movies I have in my own personal collection. So I'm sharing this with you guys in the community just to give you some ideas of some great comedy movies you can check out if you haven't seen them already. But I'd also like to hear in the comments below during this video what your favorite comedy movies are, so I have some more ideas of what to watch. And if you want to check out any of these movies yourself, you can also check out the description below where I have all of them linked in case you want to pick them up. So let's dive right into the movie in the number 10 spot. Alright, so in the number 10 spot, I have the movie Why Him? Now, this movie is not appreciated by some as much as I appreciate it, because in this movie, James Franco has a very crazy personality, which is part of what this movie's about. He has a very clashing, annoying personality that clashes with Bryan Cranston's character's personality, who he's playing a dad in this movie. And I just love kind of the interactions that take place in this movie, though, between James Franco's character acting like a crazy guy and super wealthy tech guy who just does whatever he wants and wants to date Bryan Cranston's character's daughter, and just the things that play out in this movie I found really funny. And in addition to that, with this movie, I was really surprised by the 4K release this movie got. This movie had some incredible visuals. Not that there's any really crazy special effects or anything in this film, but just the vibrancy of the visuals from this 4K disc I was really impressed by. And you don't see that always with comedy movies. So there's just a lot of things I love about this movie. It was written by Jonah Hill, and Jonah Hill's movies, I would say are kind of hit or miss. A lot of the same comedy actors are part of the same types of movies, and so this one I think had a little bit more of a unique plot, at least, than some of the other typical teenage comedy movies we see. And I just really appreciated how the antics played out between Bryan Cranston's character and James Franco's character, and it just gave me a lot of laughs. So this is one I would recommend, even though some people aren't really fans of this one. I have a big appreciation for it. All right, in the number 9 spot on the list now is Keanu. This movie features Key and Peele, and this is a movie they did together after they kind of stopped doing their Key and Peele show. And that's part of the reason this movie is meaningful to me, is I really enjoyed the Key and Peele skits, and I think those are some great comedy there as well. But this movie kind of brought them back together for a movie with just a really crazy, fun, silly plot. And I also partially love this because I love cats, and they chose an adorable cat to play Keanu in this. And believe it or not, they actually used Keanu Reeves in this briefly too, which is funny. And so I just appreciate so many things about this, from how they incorporated the cat, how they incorporated Key and Peele's style of comedy that they used in the skits and everything. And I just would highly recommend this because it's just an over-the-top plot. It really shows Key and Peele's comedy style, and I'm just so happy to have this movie in my collection. So if you haven't checked out Keanu yet, definitely check it out, especially if you love cats, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with this one. All right, number 8 on the list is going to be the movie Elf. We have a Christmas movie here. So this is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time, and I would say this is arguably one of Will Ferrell's best movies. He's been in a lot of great comedy movies, but this is a very widely loved movie for around Christmas time. And what I appreciate about this especially is this is somewhat of a family-friendly comedy movie, which we can't say about all of Will Ferrell's movies, to where people of all ages can kind of appreciate this movie for different reasons. And I just think there's a lot to love here, from Will Ferrell's performance and that type of comedy that's in it, to the whole adventure that he goes on and the relationships between the characters here. And I just think that this one has really high replay or rewatch value too. And it's the kind of movie that people will rewatch over and over again around the Christmas season. And so it's been that way for years. We've gotten some great releases. It was on Blu-ray for a long time, and then eventually got a 4K release, which is great too. And so I go back to this one over and over whenever I want to watch a Christmas movie or just a comedy movie. And this one, I think, really makes Will Ferrell's acting ability shine. Now, in the number 7 spot, I wanted to put the movie Superbad. And this is one of those movies that a lot of people love. It's probably considered one of the greatest modern comedy movies of all time by some. And I would say that I really appreciate the different actors and actresses that were used for this movie. And, it has a pretty simple plot, but a very effective one. And there's certain very memorable parts of this movie. I mean, the whole thing with McLovin and the ID is something that's been used in shirts and memorabilia over the years, and this movie's been quoted by a lot of people, and I think this movie had a lot of influence on other movies that have come out since then as well. And it's another one of those movies that incorporates a lot of the comedy actors that we see a lot, whether it's Jonah Hill or just all the other casts that were in this movie. And I think that this movie really started a trend of what people want to see in modern comedy movies and what works in Hollywood around this time frame. And it's a little different than what used to work in Hollywood comedy movies. And so we see, elements from this movie being used in other more modern movies too. And I just think the way they brought in all different types of comedy cast into this one to play some really fun roles and interact with each other just made this movie great. And they're really catering towards the kind of teenage audience here in a way that's really effective. So I definitely have an appreciation for this one. I have this one on Blu-ray, and this is another one I go back to over and over again because it just has a timeless plot, a great cast, and it's just a very enjoyable movie to watch. All right, in the number 6 spot, we have another slightly more family-friendly comedy movie here, which is Wild Hogs. This one I just recently upgraded to a Blu-ray copy in my collection, and this one offers a great midlife crisis comedy story and a great cast, and I would say more of a wholesome plot than a lot of other comedy movies. While movies like, Superbad are great, I would say that this one, really takes inspiration from some other kind of like midlife movies, and it kind of adds some additional comedy into it. I mean, you could say with movies like, say, the Bad Boys films, for example, you could say that those are kind of coming into more of a midlife crisis type of film too, with some comedy. But this, I think, is a really special film because we see, this group of guys getting on their bikes and going on this adventure together, but then they put some really great comedy scenes in there as well, and then we see them kind of interacting and just talking about their lives and what they're going through in their personal lives too, which makes it somewhat meaningful as well. And so I just think there's a lot of good elements that go into this movie that make it a great family movie, a great comedy movie, and another movie that has a great ability to be rewatched over and over again. So my whole family has loved this movie for years, and it's another movie I can't recommend enough. All right, now in the number 5 spot, we have the movie Ted. Ted is one of my favorite comedy movies of all time because it has a hilarious main character, a creative plot, great performances from the cast, including Mark Wahlberg, and it brings Seth MacFarlane's comedy to something other than Family Guy. And I think, in my opinion, personally, I actually enjoy Seth MacFarlane's comedy more in this setting than in Family Guy. There's a lot of similarities there, and in similarities in the voice acting and everything too, but I just enjoy watching, Ted the teddy bear go around doing all these crazy things more so than watching the Griffins, personally. And that may be controversial. I know Family Guy's been around for a long time, and it's a great show for many people that a lot of people enjoy, but I just really enjoyed what they did with both Ted movies, and this is where it started, and just some of the scenes are just hilarious to watch of what they did with a teddy bear driving a car, getting high, doing all these different things. And so I really appreciate too that the success of this movie led to them more recently making a TV series also. But I just really love this original movie and how this whole thing started. So with that being said, next I want to talk about Ted 2. I actually like Ted 2 even more so than Ted 1. And that's because I think they took what worked really well in the first Ted movie and just expanded on it, made some other great scenes that were really funny. One example of a scene I really enjoyed in this movie was the scene where Ted and his wife are in their apartment and they start arguing and throwing things, and then the neighbors get mad at them, so they're yelling at the neighbors out the window, and it turns into this whole scene that I just find really funny. And then there are just so many things they did in this movie that were funny, and the whole plot is just pretty crazy. And so I can't recommend Ted 2 enough. I think it's even better than the first one. And I'm happy that they made a TV series too, because I wanted there to be a Ted 3 even. But I love both the Ted movies, and I think the Ted 2 movie is the best one. Now, in the number 3 spot, I wanted to talk about the movie Porky's. I actually watched Porky's for the first time pretty recently and really enjoyed it, even though it's some of an older movie. I was really impressed by how well the comedy held up and the amount of effort that I could tell went into some of the scenes in this movie, and just how genuine some of the comedy and the laughter is in this movie. I remember the one scene in this movie when there's the group of teachers in the principal's office, and the woman, like P coach or whatever, is just trying to explain awkward situation to the principal, and then they're all just laughing uncontrollably. You could tell it was very genuine. Like that was a scene that dragged on. They're all laughing hysterically. And there's just so many scenes in this movie that were so funny, and it's a movie that is very nostalgic for a lot of people too, who watched this in the theater when it came out. And so I just think this is a very loved comedy movie that led to and influenced a lot of future movies also. And I would say if you haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. So many people love the comedy in this, and it's got a great plot too, and just so many crazy antics that take place in this movie. All right, in the number 2 spot, I have School of Rock. I would say, in my opinion, this is Jack Black's best movie of all time. It just goes so well with his personality and his lifestyle, and this is a movie that can be appreciated by people of all ages and by families, and it was just such an influential movie, and one I enjoyed so much in my childhood, and it just has such high rewatch value too, and there's just such a great cast here, and great performances, and great music, and there's so many things I love about this movie, and I never get tired of watching it. So if somehow you haven't seen School of Rock, please see this one, and I'm just so happy to have this one in my collection because I never get tired of it, and this has made my whole family laugh for years. So School of Rock is just such a great movie, and I'm so happy that Jack Black made this movie, as it's just such a great fit for him. All right, and in the number 1 spot, my favorite comedy movie of all time is Napoleon Dynamite. I've seen this movie so many times, and it's just crazy how this movie is so simple, yet so effective. And I would say the cast in this movie, it's not like they used any like really big name actors or anyone really famous in this that's been in a bunch of other comedy movies or something. I mean, it just seems like they did so much with so little in this movie, and it became so popular and influenced so many things. And it's just, there's no other movie like this. Even with its simplicity, it's just such a bizarre and unique and funny plot that is easy to rewatch, easy to share with people. And I would say in this movie specifically, it's almost like the acting really drives the movie more than anything else. I think that's part of what made this really successful is there's this, kind of simple and funny plot, but then the characters just really enhance it to where it's become this cult classic type movie. And I think, I can't think of any other comedy movies that I would really put on the same level as Napoleon Dynamite and how popular they become, especially with how simple it was. So that I just think it's an incredible movie. I never get tired of watching it. It makes me laugh just because of how funny the characters are, and I just can't wait to watch it again. So if somehow you haven't picked this one up already, again, check it out in the description down below. Make sure you pick up a copy. So those are my 10 favorite comedy movies of all time. These are all movies I have in my personal collection that I never get tired of, and I have them all linked below if you want to pick up a copy of one of them for yourself. But let me know in the comments too what some of your favorite comedy movies are, so maybe I can watch them too or pick them up. But also make sure to like and subscribe down below if you haven't already, so you can stay updated on my latest videos I have releasing. And then also make sure you check out the video I have linked above me here, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.